Okay, gonna be honest, didn't know a whole lot about Jalen Wilson because I was looking through all the names of the guys named Jalen. This includes everyone, Jaylens, and I was looking through, most of them are Jaylen, Jalen. Ooh, can't spell. Most of them are Jaylens, and Jalen Wilson came up, and I was gonna put Jalen Hood Schifino. Okay, that was my first idea. I knew him because I'm a Lakers fan. And I realized, dude, Jalen Hood Schifino hasn't played in very many NBA games. I think he's only played in 20 NBA games, which is funny because in my head, I'm like, yeah, he's like a member of the Lakers. No, we happened to draft him one year, and he's still maybe, just sort of a pawn on the Lakers team. And I would have been very embarrassed had I not put Jalen Wilson, because Jalen Wilson, Summer League MVP, surprising. I did not know. I watched some Summer League games, but I was not paying attention enough to know that Jalen Wilson was the Summer League MVP. But he's still 10 on the list because there are a lot of really great NBA players named Jalen, unfortunately. So he is on a 3-year contract now that he signed last year for $1.8 million this year. I believe it's above the league minimum. I think Brooklyn likes him. So he played in 43 games last year. He's a second-round pick from 2023, last year's draft. And I believe the Brooklyn Nets take him seriously and want him to be a good player. And his shooting percentages are good. They were very good in preseason and summer league. He can shoot. Last year, they were not great. 32% from three. It's not great. I know. Field goal percentage, 42%. It's not awesome, but bear in mind, of the Jaylens, this is a very niche Venn diagram of NBA players. Of NBA players named Jalen, he is the 10th best one. And it's not close, because Hood Schifino's there. I think there's a Jalen Pickett, who I clicked on. I don't think he's played any games yet. So Jalen Wilson, and I'm excited for him. I didn't know much about him. I'm excited to see what he does as a Brooklyn Net this year. Now that I'm aware of him, here's the thing I noticed though. No one passes him the ball. Cam Thomas does not pass him the ball. Dennis Schroeder does not pass him the ball. Ben Simmons does not pass him the ball. So he was shooting 55% in Summer League. So he can shoot, but it doesn't seem as though his teammates care or want to get him involved in the action. So I kind of feel bad for him. Because I imagine in the hierarchy of the Brooklyn Nets, he's the lowest man on the totem pole, even though he really proved himself in Summer League. So I like him. And now I feel a little bit attached to him. Now I want to watch some Brooklyn Nets games because I want to see him do well. So Jalen Wilson is the number 10 player named Jalen in the NBA. Then we got Jalen Smith. And I knew what I really knew Jalen Smith from was the Cade Cunningham dunk where he points at him. I don't know if they got beef or something, but Cade Cunningham points at him after he dunks on him. And that's where I knew him from. And I like a guy with a look, and the goggles are definitely, or I think he just wears straight up glasses with a strap. This guy, now he's in Chicago. So all the GIFs I have here, GIFs, whatever you want to say, I don't care. They're all from Chicago, or they're all from Indianapolis, excuse me. So he's played on a couple different teams. He's bounced around a bit. He is a big. That is what he is. And here's the thing. In the world, finding people that are giants is difficult. So, that being said, you're going to have a longer career if you're huge. Because people are going to look at you and say, hey, he's huge though. Big guys don't come around all that often, or not as much as the 6'4" and under players. So I think Chicago is saying, hey, we want him to be the Vooch backup. That's what we want. Because the Pacers have Obi Toppin and Jarris Walker, and I think that's sort of what they're going with. Like, this is what we're going to do. Jalen Smith is probably going to want more money. He opted out of his Pacers contract, and he signed with the Bulls for 3 years, $27 million. Pacers were probably like, I don't know what their cap situation was, but they were probably just like, nah. He's not going to play enough to warrant that much money. So I think the Bulls said, hey, be our backup. We'll see what you can do. We're going to, maybe you'll start for Vooch eventually. So I'm excited for Jalen Smith just to see what he's going to do in Chicago and see if he gets an opportunity, which I think he's going to. Because I was on Pacers Reddit doing research for this, and it seems as though Pacers fans like him, but they also understand that he's just sort of redundant, and they don't, they were glad they didn't pay him. That's what it seemed as though. So he's above Jalen Smith because he's older and he's been in the league longer and he has more experience. I think he's a better player. So I had to give it to him above Jalen Wilson. Excuse my typo. He's not above Jalen Smith. He is Jalen Smith. So he's a mid backup power forward. What do I notice about his game? Stretch big, because he does shoot threes. But he has potential to be a winner. I think a lot of times teams like the Bulls will bring in a guy from the Pacers. They're like, yeah, he didn't play a whole lot for the Pacers. He wasn't a huge part of the rotation, but he does win games. And he knows what that's like, and he's going to want to keep winning games because that's what he's used to. I've noticed losing teams will do that with winning teams. They'll kind of break off a piece of winning culture and try to stick it into their own. So I like him. Let's move on. Jalen Williams. Now, this was tough because I kind of wanted to put Jalen Smith above him. Because here's the thing. Jalen Williams does not score all that much. He also doesn't get as much playing time. But what made me give it to him is the fact that he's on a winning team and the importance of being a winner. Granted, Pacers actually made it further than... now I'm starting to think I should have put Jalen Smith above. The Pacers actually did make it further if you think about the playoffs. If you're not concerned with the West is actually better than the East, then I should switch these guys around. But I'm still going with it because Jalen Williams drew the 5th most charges last year, and he was up there with contested shots too per game, or per 36, I believe. So he's a defensive hustle guy. And he also does shoot threes, similar to Jalen Smith. So this was very good. And he's also he doesn't get a lot of personal fouls, which is rare with a hustle guy. And I think that says a lot about you. If you hustle, but you aren't sloppy. And Jalen Williams is really good at that. Can draw most of the highlights that you get from Jalen Williams. Their charges drawn, which is kind of funny. So, and he got playoff minutes. I think that's why I gave it to him. He got 27 minutes. He played in 2 games, but he got, 27 minutes a game. And I think those were during the Mavs series. So I think he was getting some usage. I could see him being traded, though. I think I could see them trading him now that they have Isaiah Hartenstein. Isaiah Stewart's on the Pistons. We need different names for people. Hence why we're doing a list of 10 players all named Jalen. So what else do I have on him? Oh, he's good in the pick and pop. I've noticed when you're watching highlight reels of a lot of guys, you'll notice that they have the same highlight. They have the same move. A lot of times the highlight is the same thing over and over again. So it's sort of a way to get to know a player's game and what they do well. Especially if you're a scout for the other team, I would just go watch, what's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander highlights. Just watch those. Kind of see, actually, I kind of do the same move every time. Usually for a player like Jalen Williams, as we get higher up, I notice, you notice the versatility in scoring and how important that is. You realize, the reason a lot of the good players are good is because they can do a lot of different things. Jalen Williams can't do a lot of different things. But the things he does do, like the pick and pop, drawing charges, he's excellent at. That's why he's 8. Even though I may revisit this and move Jalen Smith up, I don't know. Jalen Duren, here's the thing. He is a good player. And the reason he is higher up on the list is because he's a starter. This is our first starter. He's a great rebounder and he's a great shot blocker. People on Pistons Reddit were saying, because I want to get the vibe, of just generally what fans of this team, how they feel about these players. And I guess his defense went down last year. People were very disappointed with his defense, but Pistons fans, Pistons Nation seemed to blame Monty Williams, that he was pretty apathetic toward the success of the team because of Monty Williams and his apathy towards the success of the team. So he took it easy on defense. Is this true? We're going to find out this year. I got a feeling he's going to be really good because this guy, I think he could be a Bam Adebayo type. That's what he looks like to me. He's got to be one of the strongest players in the league in terms of just how ability to create his own shot by just pushing people, by using his body and creating space, and then also dunking. He can just, because eventually when you're dunking on someone, it becomes an arm wrestling match, right? It's a momentum and arm wrestling match where you just both go up. I'm going to try to block you. I'm going to try to dunk on you, and then we'll see where the ball ends up. And Duren is pretty good at aggressively dunking on guys. He is not a stretch big, though, and that is a problem. He does play with Isaiah Stewart, who is a stretch big, meaning he shoots threes, but is Isaiah Stewart good at shooting threes? Not really. I feel like he's the guy that everyone says at the trade deadline, oh, they could get Isaiah Stewart, someone to stretch the floor. And then you're like, have you looked at his three-point percentage? I don't have it up right here, but it's not great. So I think as an idea, when people say we're going to trade for Isaiah Stewart at the deadline because he can stretch the floor, I think then they look at his percentage and they're like, oh, dang, never mind. Jalen Duren has a great field goal percentage, though. He's up there with like Rudy Gobert. Who else? Domantas Sabonis. When it comes to dunking, they don't miss. Like I said, they're very strong. When it comes to putting up easy layups, Jalen Duren, he's your guy. So, what were my observations about him? Super strong. A lot of his highlights are pick and roll, a lot of lob pick and roll. I'd like to see him develop a post and mid-game, mid-range game, because there's not really much there. If you get him, I think that's a big thing you have to learn if you're a big man is you have to be dangerous. You have to be able to get the ball in the block and do something with it, or at least provide a threat. Like a Jokic does. He'll get the ball down low, and then it's kind of chaos because he can score, or he can also get it somewhere else, or he can dribble. So if you're Jalen Duren, you have to develop an offensive package. You can't just be a lob guy. You can't just stand in the dunker spot, wait for lobs, wait for easy, distractions, and then a pass. So he needs more, but he is the first starter on our list. Jalen Johnson. People are horny for Jalen Johnson. He's one of those, I think Hawks fans are sort of over Trey, even though Trey's, I don't know, he's one of my favorite players. I think he's the most fun player to watch. But Jalen Johnson is big with Hawks people. They seem to really believe in him. He just signed a 5-year extension for $150 million. He's making $30 million a year. And I think he's going to be good. He also scored 16 points a game. I think that's the highest we have. So I think that's why he's up on this list. He's a starter, obviously, and he's a good defender, too. I think he has the potential to be one of the best two-way players in the league. Is he going to? I don't know, but he does the potential. He has the size. He has the body for it. He's got the skill. So it's up to him, really. He's been blessed. So he's the 20th pick in the 2021 draft. There are a lot of Jaylens in the 2021 draft that just got extended and just signed for a lot of money. So last season was his breakout season. He didn't have a great start in his career. He was getting no time whatsoever, but last year Quinn Snyder decided, hey, you want to be really good on our team and you want to sort of be the face on our team? He also decent stonks, and he's a great rebounder too. So he has LeBron James level potential if you think about it. He has muscles, he has strength, if he can stay healthy, which I think he does. But most of the highlights are lobs. They're just lobs. They're lobs, and then him dunking over someone like Chet. Just him using his momentum and his muscle. That's what he's got, but he needs a little bit more to his offensive game. That's it. But again, he's our first $30 million player. Again, Duren, though, he could get that next year. I'm not sure when his contract's up. His draft was 2022, so next year. He could be extended next year. Moving on. Suggs, because Suggs actually has something to hang his hat on. He has a second-team all-defense. That's something to me. I always feel that. I feel like if you're a rookie, second-team all-rookie, first-team all-rookie, I'll add this to the list. I'm like, that's an accolade. That's something. You did something. But second-team all-defense, he definitely has an identity because he's a great defender. And he's also a really great three-point shooter. He's one of, I think it was Austin Rivers said that he believed he was the best perimeter defender in the league. And then I think his co-host, which I forget his name, I like that podcast, by the way. I really do. I think those guys are fun to listen to. Sometimes they'll just kind of BS up top, and I actually really enjoy their dynamic. Austin Rivers is cool. I think he's a cool guy. And he said that Jalen Suggs is the best perimeter defender in the league. Better than Caruso, better than Drew Holiday. So, and he knows he played in the league for a long time. He knows what he's talking about. So, this is sort of a leap up. Jalen Johnson to Jalen Suggs, to me, personally, is a leap up, especially because Orlando is better than the Hawks. And yeah, and his three-point percentage last year was almost 40%. Great shot selection. He just not shooting a ton, 5 3-pointers a game. I wonder if that'll go up this year, or will it go down because of KCP joining the team? I don't know. But he's really fast. That's another thing too. He's a very athletic player. A lot of lobs. I think he's shorter than Jalen Johnson, but he's smart. He's smart, and I like that he's decided, I'm on a team with some really good offensive players, and I'm going to assume this role of being sort of the defensive leader of this team. Find your spot and just be awesome at it. I think it's a good lesson to learn in life, rather than say, I wish I was scoring more. I wish I was getting more than 12.6 points a game. He got DPOY votes. Pick something and be good at it, really. Pick something and just try to get better at it every day. Pick a lane, pick a nice spot where no one else is. Do it your way. What do I got on Suggs? He is a great finisher. Excellent layup package. Nice little package, little Christmas present of layups that he's got. They sort of reminded me, I'm not saying just just a comp, but Kyrie Irving-esque. Some of the finishes that kind of reminded me of Kyrie Irving. Were they as circus tricky? No, but still impressive. Everything impresses me. Okay, moving on. People might not like that, the fact that Suggs is below Jalen Green. But Jalen Green is a scorer. And here's the thing, if there's a skill set in basketball that is valued the most, it's being a scorer, it's getting buckets. I know I like defense as much as the next guy, I like playmaking as much as the next guy, but the real value is just being a scorer, which is actually to the detriment of Jalen Green, I believe. I think he gets a little bit too excited, gets a little bit too aroused by scoring, and just look at this gif right here. He just hucks the ball. Everyone likes to crank it back and just jam it as hard as they can because they want to be on the ESPN top 10. I get it. I'd do the same thing if I had that type of athleticism. I'd do the same. But I think Green, in the same way, wants to score, and to his detriment. I think he could really serve his team by being a little bit better of a passer, even though he is the shooting guard. Guard's a guard now, right? You got to be able to pass. You got to be able to shoot. It's the way it is. You can't have one job and do it extremely well. You got to have 2 or 3 jobs. So his contract's interesting. He's getting paid the same amount as Sengun. Did you know that? So you may think, Sengun's going to get a better deal. Green's going to get a worse deal. What actually happened was they said, we're going to guarantee Sengun 5 years at $30 million and change a year. Versus Jalen Green, we're going to give him the same amount of money, but it's only going to be for 3 years, and the last year is going to be a player option. And there's a 10% trade kicker. So I imagine Green thinks, you're going to trade me. I know you want to trade me, so let's do this. I get a trade kicker, and then if you trade me, I have a player option, so I only have to play on that team for a little bit, and I can opt my way out. Very smart on his behalf. So in reality, the Rockets said, we don't really know if we like Jalen Green, but we know we really like Sengun. And someone will always trade for a guy that can score. And that's what Jalen Green does. He is an excellent scorer, and that's very valuable. And that's why he's above Suggs, just because it's a little bit harder to find a guy that can go out and score like that. But he lacks focus on defense, and he's just too focused on scoring. That's my problem with him. And he stayed very transition. I went from a negative thing, and I was going to transfer into a positive thing. So that's the negative. The positive, though, is he stays healthy. He has not had, he's been in the league 3 years, I believe. He's not really missed much time. In the league now, it seems as though a lot of guys are very fragile, and Jalen Green has been exceptionally durable. And that's one of my favorite things in an NBA player. So I really like Jalen Green. I think that might be all I have for him. Oh, he reminds me of, again, comparison. Derrick Rose, a little bit. Are there moments where you think, yeah, I remember I've seen something like this before? Once or twice. I think I remember a guy doing that explosiveness to the basket. I think he looks like Derrick Rose sometimes when I'm watching him play. That might be blasphemy. So, moving on to the third best Jalen. Jalen Williams. I think that's fine. I don't think anyone would argue in terms of where we are in the list. If we're evaluating all the Jaylens, you kind of know who's coming up right now. 3 is... No one's going to argue that. He's the third best Jalen. The 2 above him, you would say, yeah, they're better. And then the ones below, let's take Green and Suggs. Jalen Williams is better than them. So, here's the thing. He had less points than Jalen Green. But that's the only thing he had less than. So, his team's better. And his team won a playoff round. He's on a better team, and that counts a lot toward me. That really wins me over. Because I really don't care how many points you're racking up against a team that didn't make it in the playoffs. So, or didn't even make it in the play-in. I care some, but not as much. Jalen Williams' points mean more to me. Because they happen to result in wins. He had an all-star case last year. I remember I made a list last year of the all-star snubs, and I was looking through his stats, and I thought, yeah, those are all-star stats. So I assume he gets it this year. He had more assists than Jalen Green, too. So, 12th pick of the 2022 draft. He's going to be up for an extension next year. And, of course, the OKC Thunder are going to extend him. I have no doubt. Of course. He's awesome. He's a great player. Better shooting percentages than Green. He's like a very judicious shooter and versatile defender. He's just better. He's just better than Green. Sorry. Green is probably more fun to watch just because he jumps higher and he's faster than Williams. Williams is, I think, stronger than Green, but I think that Green is a little bit faster. Well, a lot faster. Let's just call it how it is. He's a lot faster than Williams. So he uses his shoulders a lot. That's always what I've noticed about Jalen Williams is he has the ability to like get into his defender and then sort of push off and do his own thing. So he's in control when he's driving to the bucket. Even though he hasn't beat the guy, he's still going to score because he can knock the guy off balance. All he needs is separation, and Jalen Williams gets it. He can drive and can shoot in the mid-range. He can do more with the ball than Green because if you can shoot in the mid-range, you're kind of a double threat. Otherwise, if you're someone like Green, the defender just has to say, I just got to make sure he doesn't get into the hoop. I can live with him taking a 2 or a 3, if I'm being honest. His shooting percentage isn't that great. So you can tell Green is a little more hungry for the basket versus Williams doesn't really care how you defend him because he can get a bucket taking it in or just taking a fadeaway. So the next one is Jalen Brunson. Now, the difference between 1 and 2, I'll say Jalen Brunson might... Oh, man. It's tough, isn't it? Because here's the thing. He's only been an All-Star once, and he's only been All-NBA once. Still, he's awesome. He's a really great player. Probably could have been All-NBA the year before. But I think NBA voters like to give the vets... They're more inclined to give a vet an All-NBA selection than a guy that hasn't got it before and is a bit younger. Because I think part of them thinks, well, those guys, they'll get All-NBA selections when they're later in their career as well. So, one-time All-Star, second-team All-NBA last year. Most touches last year. He had the 5th most touches, so he touched the ball the most. 5th most. But he had the longest length of possessions, and it wasn't even close. He has the ball for the majority of the time on that Knicks team. Because what he does is he dribbles the ball until the right thing happens. When he has the patience to just dribble and create space for himself until the pass opens up or the shot opens up. And that is what his skill set is, and it's very rare in the NBA. Especially, it's what you need if you are a shorter NBA player. You need to say, hey, I know, but I can hold on to this. I can hold on to the rock until the pass manifests itself to me. And that's what his skill set is. And fifth in MVP voting, it kind of makes me feel like he should be, again, it's really close. It makes me feel like he should be number 1 because he was 5th in MVP voting. Is there another Jalen that was higher up in MVP voting? No, of course not. His team won a playoff round. I don't have to make the case that he's better than Jalen Williams. Stat-wise, this is Brunson and... Am I done glazing Brunson? I am. It's Jaylen Brown. I had to, right? I'm not particularly... I like Brunson better than I like Brown, but it just felt a little bit disrespectful if I didn't give it to him. Just won a championship, was the finals MVP. That means something to me. I think he's awesome. I think he's excellent. 3-time All-Star versus Brunson, the 1-time All-Star. I had to do it. I had to. Brown's a better defender and he's a larger presence. Now, do I really believe that? I do. He can score in more ways than Brunson can. Granted, Brunson has other responsibilities too. This was tough. He gets blocks and steals. Brunson, that's not really his thing. There's just, Brunson isn't a faucet on the defensive end of the floor, but Brown makes a lot of defensive plays. So he gets it. But it was really hard for me, So, not definitively the best player on his team. That's the thing. I would say on the Knicks, Brunson is definitively the best player on that team. Would you? Would you agree with that? Versus the Celtics, I think most people still go with Tatum. I think it's sort of a contrarian opinion to go with Brown, right? You tell me. But again, he didn't win the Finals MVP. And he also won that Larry Bird Award or whatever, the Eastern Conference Finals champion. So, yeah. Congratulations, Jaylen Brown. Let me know what I messed up. I probably messed something up. Maybe there was a Jaylen that should have been on the list that you believe I missed. I'd love to hear it. I reply to every comment, by the way. I don't know if I said that. Please like the video if you can. I'm not begging. If you see it, yeah, why not? What's it? Whatever. Thanks for watching. That ultimately, because your mothers eat a corn dog.